Management Services, your investment specialist. Smart, innovative, and meaningful solutions. SIMS, Stanbic Investment Management Services, your investment specialist.
I found a new job and it's doing very well. And all I'm doing is saving to build a house.
You don't save to build a house. You invest to build a house. That is why I want to take you to my financial advisors. They are thorough.
From markets and currencies to people and politics, everything today affects investment outcomes. If you cannot make the connection, you cannot make the money. We are one of Africa's and Ghana's largest fund managers. Stanbic Investment Management Services provides world-class money management services to individuals, institutional pensions, and group funds. Sign up today for the Stanbic Cash Trust or the Stanbic Income Fund and experience diversified and flexible investment solutions. Managed by your investment specialists. Stanbic Investment Management Services is licensed by the Securities and Exchange Commission and registered with the National Pensions Regulatory Authority. Stanbic Investment Management Services. Stanbic Bank. It can be.
I have seen it all. Disloyal men, disloyal companies, disloyal institutions, you can name it. But I have found a loyal partner now. Stanbic Investment Management Services. I trust him so much, and I am investing 10 years of my Tier 3 contributions with SIMS. Losing money is painful. Invest wisely. Invest with Stanbic Investment Management Services today.
Try SIMS today with your Tier 3 funds and you will not regret your decision. Stanbic Investment Management Services. Call
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I have the 4th Annual General Meeting of the Stanbic Income Fund Trust, which I now declare open. Will the Secretary please confirm the quorum and proxies received?
Mr. Chairman, there were no proxies received. The quorum is 23 unit holders.
Thank you. I now call upon the Secretary to read the notice of the meeting.
Notice of Annual General Meeting of Stanbic Income Fund Trust. Notice is hereby given that the 12th Annual General Meeting of the unit holders of Stanbic Income Fund Trust, the fund, will be held virtually on Wednesday, 2nd August 2023 at 12 p.m. and shall be streamed live to all unit holders from Stanbic Heights, Plot 215, South Liberation Link, Airport City, Accra, for the transaction of the following business. Agenda 1. To receive the reports of the manager of the fund for the year ended December 31, 2022. 2. To consider the trustees' report and the report of auditors for the year ended December 31, 2022. 3. To receive and adopt the audited financial statements for the year ended December 31, 2022, and to authorize the manager to fix the remuneration of the auditors. Dated July 11, 2023, by order of the manager, Stanbic Investment Management Services Limited, on behalf of the trustee, Universal Merchant Bank Limited. Note 1. Attendance and participation by all unit holders and or their proxies in this year's AGM of the fund shall be strictly virtual, that is, by online participation. 2. A unit holder entitled to attend and vote at the AGM may appoint a proxy to attend via online participation and vote on his or her behalf. Such a proxy need not be a unit holder of the fund. 3. The appointment of a proxy will not prevent a unit holder from subsequently attending and voting at the meeting via online participation. Where a unit holder attends the meeting via the online portal, the proxy appointment shall be deemed to be revoked. A copy of the proxy form can be downloaded from www.simcisagm.com and may be filled and sent via email to trust@umbcapital.com or deposited at the registered office of the trustee of the fund, Universal Merchant Bank Limited, Snit Emporium, Liberation Road, Accra, not later than 10 a.m. on Friday, July 28, 2023. Accessing and voting at the virtual AGM. A unique token number will be sent to unit holders by email and/or SMS from July 17, 2023 to give them access to the meeting. Unit holders who do not receive this token can contact the UMB on trust@umbcapital.com or call 0244 988 369 or 0555 256 560 anytime after July 18, 2023, but before the date of the AGM to be sent the unique token. To gain access to the virtual AGM, unit holders must visit www.simcisagm.com and input their unique token number on Wednesday, 2nd August 2023. For unit holders who do not submit proxy forms to the trustee of the fund prior to the meeting, they may vote electronically during the virtual AGM again using their unique token number. Further assistance on accessing the meeting and voting electronically can be found on www.simcisagm.com. For further information, please contact the trustee, Universal Merchant Bank Limited, Snit Emporium, Liberation Road, Accra, on telephone number 0244 988 369 or 0555 256 560 or email at trust@umbcapital.com. Thank you.
Very much, Ms. A.C. Korama Amwa. The first item on the agenda is to receive the report of the manager of the fund for the year ended December 31, 2022. I call on Mr. Pakwesi Blebo to read the report of the manager to unit holders.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And good afternoon. Dear unit holders and partners, I welcome you to the 2022 Annual General Meeting of the Stanbic Income Fund, SIF, or Fund. SIF ended 2022 with a return of 17.8% and assets under management of 503 million. Economic outturn. The global economy worsened in 2022, plagued by a lingering Russia-Ukraine conflict, elevated inflation, supply chain tensions, and a severe energy crisis. A sharp rise in energy and food prices sparked a cost of living crisis in several countries, waning demand for households and businesses. China's economic activity stalled as prolonged COVID lockdowns took a toll on the supply chain and global growth. Most central banks undertook rapid policy hikes to rein in inflation, further tightening financial conditions and resulting in an economic slowdown. A sharp rise in the United States dollar fueled sudden portfolio flight from emerging and developing markets, which tanked currencies and increased imported inflation globally. Financial markets panicked over the global economic unrest, with fixed income and equity assets witnessing deep losses. Ghana saw a series of shocks, including tighter global financial conditions and a spillover of global inflation amidst heavy indebtedness, which pushed the economy into crisis. Inflation rose sharply to end the year at 54.1%, with the Bank of Ghana tightening the monetary policy rate cumulatively by 12.5 to 29.5% to quell inflation. The country lost access to the international market, precipitating several credit downgrades, finally to junk status by S&P, Moody's, and Fitch Solutions. The weak investor sentiment triggered capital flight, draining Ghana's forex reserves to 2.9 months of import cover. The cedi fell drastically throughout the year, underscored by persistent demand from market players and speculative activities amid a scarcity of forex inflows. However, News on Ghana's conclusion of a staff-level agreement with the International Monetary Fund temporarily revived confidence in the cedi, receding end-year depreciation to 29.97% from 54% in November. Fiscal position deteriorated due to persistent revenue shortfalls and an excessive external debt that triggered the risk of potential sovereign default. Market confidence fell precipitously as households and businesses struggled with challenging economic conditions. Ghana's debt distress culminated in the launching of a debt exchange program for domestic debt holders, while freezing interest payments on foreign debt to create fiscal space to successfully receive a $3 billion facility from the IMF. A domestic debt exchange program valued at $132 billion was launched in December to restore debt and financial sustainability for all domestic bonds, ESLA, and Dachi Trust. The government has also initiated restructuring engagement with foreign debt holders. Ghana's policy framework under IMF leadership should restore fiscal credibility and revive market confidence in the medium term. The Ghanaian stock market trended downwards, undermined by negative investment sentiment due to deteriorated economic environment. The Ghana Stock Exchange Composite Index declined by approximately 13% year-on-year, while the Financial Stock Index lost approximately 5% in 2022. However, market capitalization increased by 0.02% year-on-year to 64.5 billion, underpinned by the listing of approximately 377 million shares of Asante Gold Corporation plc. Market activity was vibrant as volume traded surged 174.4% year-on-year to 1.34 billion shares, valued at 1.64 billion Ghana cedis. Trade in MTN and New Gold dominated market activity. Increased government borrowing and a hawkish monetary stance to curb inflation pushed up short-term yield, as investors sought actual adjusted returns amid economic uncertainties. The 91-day and 182-day Treasury bill rates ended the year at 35.36 and 35.98% from year-open yields of 12.5 and 13.2% respectively. Additionally, the rate on the 364-day instrument ended at 35.89%. The sharp increase in short-term yields exerted downward pressure on bond prices, resulting in bond portfolio losses. Speculation of a possible debt restructuring and a subsequent launch of a domestic debt exchange program waned investor confidence in the last quarter. Collective investment schemes witnessed negative net cash flows due to increased outflows by investors amid low inflows. A sharp rise in market yields caused portfolios to record losses as they sold bonds at steep discounts to make liquidity available to clients. The Securities and Exchange Commission in October 2022 directed all CIS managers to apply a mark-to-market valuation methodology in valuing the schemes or funds. The new valuation methodology led to a decline in portfolio values due to depressed bond prices. The uncertainty in market values and losses and prevailing higher treasury bill rates resulted in heightened investor redemptions. Investment performance and portfolio asset mix. Saved assets as at end December 2022 were 503 million. Bonds comprised 93.3% of the fund's assets, with 2.3% invested in money market instruments and 4.4% in cash and near cash securities as at the end of 2022. The full year return for 2022 was 17.8%, below its benchmark of 25.4%. SAFE's full year distributable earnings declined to 71.5 million in 2022 from 83.9 million reported in 2021. The underperformance is attributed to substantial cash outflows, approximately 593 million on the fund, and the challenging macroeconomic conditions in 2022. Summary of fund activities. In 2022, the fund manager, with the approval from the fund trustee and after notifying the Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, made amendments to the fund's scheme particulars. The amendments sought to bolster the fund's returns with an increase in the fund's exposure to long-term fixed asset securities from 70% of AUM to 85%. The changes were made in line with Clause 13BV and Appendix B of the fund's trust deed. Additionally, in response to a directive from the SEC dated October 2022, the manager adopted a mark-to-market valuation methodology for the fund. To mitigate the impact of this valuation methodology on investors, a subclass Stanbic Income Fund Trust AMC, or SAFE AMC, was introduced after a no objection was received from the SEC in December 2022 to ring-fence new fund subscriptions from market volatility. The mandate of the Stanbic Income Fund Trust AMC is to invest all new deposits in money market securities. The trust deed has been updated to reflect all the changes initiated within the year. Investors can access a copy of the amendment from the manager's website, www.sims.com.gh. The Domestic Debt Exchange Program and Impact on the Fund. The Domestic Debt Exchange Program, dubbed DDEP, was launched by the government of Ghana in December 2022 as part of the conditions required to receive support from the IMF. It was an invitation to eligible bond holders of ESLA, Dachi, and Government of Ghana bonds to exchange their bonds for a set of new bonds with varied terms. Collective investment schemes, which formed part of Category A bondholders, were offered bonds with maturity dates in 2027 and 2028 at a coupon rate of 10%. Relief measures offered to eligible bondholders included potential access to a liquidity support fund. In consultation with the trustee, the fund participated in the program to gain access to the Ghana Financial Stability Fund, GFSF. When fully established and access to liquidity on the secondary market, the DDEP was concluded on February 21, 2023, and SAFE received a total of 463.3 million in new bonds at a coupon rate of 10%. SAFE's participation in the DDEP has limited the fund's cash flow, impacted the ability to meet unit holders' liquidity needs, and has decreased the fund's return from approximately 22% prior to the DDEP to approximately 10%. However, the operationalization of the GFSF and an active secondary market for the new bonds is expected to improve the fund's liquidity and returns in the short to medium term. Outlook and strategy. The World Bank predicts another challenging year, scaling back growth estimate to 1.7%, weakened by the US, Europe, and China's slowdown. Global trade tensions will improve as China continues its push to end zero COVID policies in the face of a massive infection wave. Elevated inflation could remain a major challenge for policymakers in the first half of 2023, while policymakers find a balance between price stability and a fragile economic recovery. Looking ahead, IMF predicts a rocky recovery as the emerging market risks in the financial sector calls for prudent policy response despite lingering inflation. Higher crude prices following OPEC Plus 1 million daily volume cuts and a rebound in China's demand could elevate inflation risk. A sustained recovery in China's economy should unwind trade tensions and provide a tailwind for global growth. Ghana's economy remained perilous with macroeconomic imbalances, limited fiscal space, tighter financial conditions, and a fragile market sentiment. The approval of Ghana's $3 billion facility from the IMF and the subsequent release of the first tranche of $600 million is expected to impact the country's economic recovery. The approval is anticipated to unlock additional concessional funding from international donors, approximately $6 billion, supporting Ghana's ongoing efforts. The partnership with the IMF is poised to play a crucial role in strengthening Ghana's financial and fiscal management, which will ultimately help revive market confidence in the medium term. However, it is essential to remain mindful of potential headwinds that may arise. The recent global banking crisis has introduced caution in developed markets, which could impact the portfolio inflows to Ghana and slow down activities on the secondary market, negatively impacting liquidity. Additionally, inflationary pressures and the high cost of funds pose ongoing concerns that could further erode real income for businesses and individuals. In summary, while the approval of Ghana's IMF facility brings optimism and potential benefits, navigating the hurdles that may arise from global market dynamics is essential. Ghana's continued focus on implementing sound economic policies, managing risks effectively, and addressing inflationary pressures will be crucial in ensuring sustained progress and economic stability in the future. SAFE strategy will focus on generating liquidity through new inflows, selling portions of the exchange bonds, and accessing the Ghana Financial Stability Fund established by the government in the absence of an active secondary market. The subclass will ring-fence all new deposits and invest in money market securities. We will closely monitor market conditions as they improve. The subclass may be closed with new deposits being invested in medium and long-term investment opportunities. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Blebo. The next item on the agenda is to consider the trustees' report. I now call on Mr. Eric Ejeyebua of Universal Merchant Bank to read the trustees' report for the year ended December 31st, 2022.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. And good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Report of the trustee to the unit holders of Stanbic Income Fund Trust. In response to the changes in the investment environment and in line with Appendix A and Clause 13B(v) of the trust deed, and no objection by the Securities and Exchange Commission, amendments were made to the trust deed in 2022 as follows: for the fund to remain competitive by maximizing returns on the unit holders' investment and seeking capital appreciation. Clause 3 of the deed. Investment objectives was amended with effect from February 2022, and it's now the principal objective of the trust is to optimize investors' total returns comprising interest income and capital appreciation of assets held by the investing in fixed income securities. Clause 13. Issuance of units was amended with effect from December 2022 by the inclusion of sub-clause G as follows: the fund may create a subclass where all new investment deposits will be invested in money market securities. The subclass may be closed and the balances transferred into the main fund class when the market condition improve. Clause 19. Clause 19 constituent of property was amended with effect from February 2022, and it's now under the normal market conditions. Substantially all but not less than 85% of the trust asset will be invested in the medium to long-term corporate and government debt securities, and a maximum of 40% in money market securities. Appendix A statement of investment policy was amended with effect from February 2022. It is now the trust investment objective is to seek medium to long-term sustainable income. Under the normal market conditions, the Stanbic Income Fund Trust will invest at least 100% of its fund's total asset in fixed income market instruments. A minimum of 85% of the fund's asset under management will be invested in a medium to long-term corporate and government debt securities, as maximum of 40% in money market securities. The manager may employ short-term tactical deviations from the policy asset of up to 10% of the asset under management. In our opinion, according to the information made available to us and the explanations provided, we confirm that in all material respects, the fund manager has managed the scheme during the year covered by the financial statement in accordance with the trust deed dated 6th day of November 2011, as amended in all regulations for the time being enforced under the Unit Trust and Mutual Funds Regulations 2001, LI 1695. Signed on behalf of Universal Merchant Bank. Mr. Chairman, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Ejay Yeboah. I will now ask Mr. Mark Justice Isaac Brenya of Baker-Tilly Under and Under to read their report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I am representing Mr. Samuel Abiao, the engagement partner on the assignment. I present the independent auditor's report to the unit holders of Stanbic Income Fund Trust. Report on the audit of the financial statement. Our opinion. We have audited the financial statement of Stanbic Income Fund Trust, which comprise the statement of assets and liabilities as at 31st December 2022, income and distribution account, portfolio statement and capital account for the year then ended, and note to the financial statement, which include a summary of significant accounting policy and other explanatory notes as set out on page 27 to 39 of the financial statement. In our opinion, the accompanying financial statement presents fairly, in all material respects, the financial position of the fund as at 31st December 2022, and its financial performance and its cash flows for the year then ended, in accordance with international financial reporting standards and in the manner of the Securities Industry Act 2016 at 929, the Unit Trust and Mutual Fund Regulations 2001 LI 1695, and the trust deeds dated 18th July 2016 as amended. Basis for the we conducted our on auditing. Our responsibilities under those standards are further described in the auditor's responsibility for the audit of the financial statement section of our report. We are independent of the fund in accordance with the International Code of Ethics for Professional Accountants, including International Independence Standards, the code issued by the International Ethics Standard Board for Accountants, IESBA, and we have fulfilled our other ethical responsibilities in accordance with the code. We believe that the audit evidence we have obtained is sufficient and appropriate to provide a basis for our opinion. On key audit matters, the key audit matters are those matters that, in our professional judgment, were of most significance in our audit of the financial statement of the current period. They are matters to be addressed in the context of our audit of the financial statement as a whole and informing our opinion thereon. We do not provide a separate opinion on those matters. There were no material key audit matters to this report. On other information, the manager is responsible for the other information. The other information comprises the information included in the annual report, but does not include the financial statement and our auditor's report thereon. Our opinion on the financial statement does not cover the other information, and we do not express any form of assurance conclusion thereon. In connection with our audit of the financial statement, our responsibility is to read the other information and, in doing so, consider whether the other information is materially inconsistent with the financial statement or our knowledge obtained in the audit or otherwise appears to be materially misstated. If, based on the work that you have performed, we conclude that there is a material misstatement of this other information, then we are required to report that fact. We have nothing to report in this regard. Mr. Chairman, please permit me to skip the responsibility of the manager to the financial statement and the auditor's responsibility for the audit of the financial statement. That has to do with more with our audit procedures that we carried out according to standard. Please, I moved on to present and report on other legal and regulatory requirements. In compliance with the requirement of Part 9 of Schedule 8 of the Unit Trust and Mutual Funds Regulation 2001, LI 1695, we confirmed that we have obtained all information and explanation which, to the best of our knowledge and belief, were necessary for the purpose of the audit. In our opinion, proper books of account have been kept by the fund. So far as appears from the examination of those books, the fund's financial statements are in agreement with the books of account. In our opinion, the fund generally complied with the relevant provisions of the Securities Industry Act 2016 at 929. The engagement partner on the audit, resulting in this independent auditor's opinion, is Samuel Abiao, with ICAG Practicing Certificate number 1454, signed Bekatili Anda Enanda on 28 April 2023. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Mr. Brenya. I now call on Ms. Paulina Okain to present the highlights of the audited financial statements for the year ended December 31st, 2022.
Thank you, Chair. Present the financial highlights for the Stanbic Income Fund Trust for the year ended 2022. Fund returns outperformed the benchmark rates up until 2022. The low performance for the year resulted from significant withdrawals in the latter part of the year as unit reacted to the economic turbulence. That notwithstanding, on an average basis, the fund has delivered higher returns than the benchmark rates. The 5-year CAGR for the fund was 20.2%, whilst the 5-year CAGR for the benchmark was 18.9%. Fund price for 2022 was 9.09, and this was an 18% growth on 2021 price of 7.72. A cumulative average growth of 20% due to the healthy returns over the horizon. There has been a strong momentum in the growth of net assets until 2022, when customer agitation over the mark-to-market implementation and the turbulence of the market, as earlier explained by the fund manager, resulted in significant withdrawals at the latter part of the year. This, coupled with the mark-to-market loss adjustment on the fund, accounts for the lower net assets for the year, and this can be seen on the bar chart at the bottom of the page being shown. Net assets declined by 14%, from 576 million in 2021 to 497 million in 2022, and this can be seen on page 20 of the audited financials. Since the inception of the fund, For the first time, redemptions have exceeded issuance. The number of units issued decreased by 11% from 43.5 million in 2021 to 38.6 million in 2022. Units redeemed, on the other hand, increased significantly by over 100%, from 24.6 million in 2021 to 55.9 in 2022. The value of units issued increased by 46%, 303 million to 441 million. However, the value of units redeemed was over 100% higher than the prior year. This year was an outlier, as the significant uptick in redemption was due to higher levels of customer withdrawals. Turning to page 22 of the audited financials, we see the income performance. The total income declined from 95.1 million in 2021 to 85.2 million in 2022, a 10% decline year on year. The drop was due to the mark-to-market loss of 21.2 million on the Government of Ghana bonds held by the fund. Fund expenses, on the other hand, increased by 23%, and this was linked to the strong growth and performance of the fund in the first 3 quarters before the mark-to-market adjustment was implemented at the latter part of the year. The above resulted in a 15% decrease in net investment income from prior year of 83.9 million, whereas 2022 ended with 71.5 million. These are the highlights of the fund performance. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Okaing. The next item on the agenda is the consideration of the Fund Manager's report for adoption. I now call on Ms. Amwa to take us through the comment and voting process on motions put forward.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Steps to comment or ask questions. To second the motion, send a comment or question. Kindly locate the chat box at the right or bottom side of your screen. Type and submit your comments and questions. How to cast your vote. We have provided 2 options to enable you partake in the voting exercise in real time. To vote via the online platform, kindly locate the vote box on the bottom of your broadcast screen and follow these steps. 1. Enter the unique token number used to join the meeting. Then click Cast Your Vote. Once you have done this, you will see a list of resolutions to be voted for. Follow the voting process by clicking the plus sign, then select your voting option. To vote via shortcode, dial *899*3# on your phone. Enter the unique code used in joining the meeting. Once you have done this, you can now select your vote option and send. You cannot vote once the chairman closes the vote. Thank you.
Ms. Amwa, I hereby move that the Fund Manager's report for the year ended December 31st, 2022, and submitted to the meeting be and is hereby received and adopted. Would someone please second the motion? To second, kindly go into the chat box, type your full name, and then type seconded.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Desmond Ahia has seconded the motion.
Thank you very much. Motion seconded. Are there any questions before the motion is put to the meeting?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. We have a question from Nicholas Pronk Ishin. Nicholas is asking whether the two funds for income fund trust would ever be merged together.
Okay, so I'll have the fund manager. But before the fund manager comments on this question, I'd like to us all to note that only questions directly related to the motions will be addressed. All other questions not directly related to the motion will be answered in the chat area. Thank you. Fund manager.
Thank you, Ms. AC. Yes, so the long-term plan of the fund is to merge the subclass fund with the original fund. We currently have the subclass fund as a temporary measure in the midst of the mark-to-market to protect investors and also to safeguard them from implications of the mark-to-market on their deposits. But then we expect the market to normalize and investment activity should improve given the turnaround in our macros as a country. That should also open up the secondary market. And as SAFE is positioned, or Income Fund is positioned as a medium to long-term fund, we are going to merge the two funds to become one and to also meet the objectives and the mandate of the fund. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, there is a second question from Ni Ashrifi Nunu and Ms. Wendy Sewa Anonunu. The question is, how come fund expenses is increasing significantly given the fund is underperforming with the fund annualized rates lower than Government of Ghana Treasury bill rates?
Question will be addressed by the finance manager.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the mark-to-market implementation happened on the 1st of November, which is the last 2 months of the year. However, before then, for the first 10 months, the fund was strongly performing very well. In fact, I think it was above its target. Now, the expenses on the fund are linked to the fund's performance. So for 10 months of the year, the expenses were high as the fund was also high. The fund expenses starts dropping in the last 2 months of the year when the mark-to-market has been implemented. But unfortunately for financial shows a full year performance. So whereas the AUMs would be an asset number and will be showing at year end, the mark-to-market number, the P&L shows the full year performance, which includes 10 months increased expenses and then 2 months lowered expenses. Thank you.
Chairman, there's a second question, but this question will be answered when we are voting on the financial statements, please. Chairman, there are no further questions on this matter.
Thank you very much. I now open the online platform for voting on the motion to adopt the fund manager's report for the year ended December 31st, 2022. Voting is closed. Thank you. Ms. Amwa, can you please tell us the outcome of the vote? I hereby declare that the motion has been duly carried. I hereby move that the trustees' report for the year ended December 2022 and submitted to the meeting be and is hereby received and adopted. Would someone please second the motion?
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Collins Kofi Opare has seconded the motion.
Thank you very much. With the motion seconded, are there any questions before the motion is put to the meeting? Once again, only questions directly related to the subject matter will be addressed here.
Mr. Chairman, there is a question in the chat box, but it is related to the financial statements. So there are no questions on this matter at the moment.
Thank you very much. With that, I will now open the online platform for voting on the motion to adopt the trustees' report for the year ended 2022. Voting is closed. Thank you very much. Ms. Amwa, kindly tell us the outcome of the votes.
To adopt the trustees' report for the year ended December 31, 2022, 29 people voted for the motion. No one voted against the motion, and 2 persons abstained from the motion.
Very much. I hereby declare that the motion has been duly carried. Again, I hereby move that the statements of assets and liabilities accounts as of December 31st, 2022, together with the income and distribution accounts and the auditor's report thereon for the year ended on that date and submitted to the meeting be and are hereby received and adopted. Would someone please second the motion?
Chairman, Ms. Jennifer Korte has seconded the motion.
Thank you very much. With the motion now seconded, are there any questions before the motion is put to the meeting?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we have 4 different questions. So we would ask one, then the finance manager would respond, then I'll ask the other ones, please. The first question is by Ni Ashifi Nunu and Ms. Wendy Sewa Anonunu. What is the key driver of the fund expenses increasing year on year by over 20%?
So the drivers of the expenses have not changed, of the fund expenses haven't changed, but as I earlier explained, it's because of the strong performance in the early part of the year. The key drivers remain the same. It's the management fee, the trustee fees, the audit fees, inclusive of tax. A breakdown of that expenses can be seen on page 22 of the audited financials. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, there's also another question from Emmanuel Baden in Trust for Kweku Akwa Baden. He's asking, can you please explain why AUM for 2022 was lower compared to 2021, and yet fund management fees and trustee fees were higher than that of 2021?
Thank you. So the performance or the fees or the expenses on the fund are charged according to the performance of the fund. Now, the mark-to-market, the AUMs are presented at mark-to-market. Mark-to-market was implemented on the 1st of November. Prior to the 1st, the fund was performing strongly. Therefore, the management fees, the trustees' fees were all being charged on amortized cost or the prior amounts before the mark-to-market implementation. So for 10 months, the fees were quite high. However, for the last 2 months after the implementation of the mark-to-market, these fees dropped. But because your financials are presenting a year-to-date basis, it seems as though it's high, but it's just because of the timing. Your mark-to-market happened at the latter part of the year, whilst the full year, for majority part of the year, the fund was performing strongly. Thank you.
Ms. Teresa Finn also asks, what steps did you as fund managers take to protect investors from the massive losses we have suffered?
Just to put in perspective, markets go through cycles. You have your downturn and then you have the upturn. And usually investments are done and also are subject to conditions in the market. Now, what happened last year was a peculiar year for everyone. And so that also affected the investment that we had in the fund. Usually, government securities are thought to be risk-free until what we experienced last year, the Russia-Ukraine, and also depreciation of the currency, and us going to the IMF. That saw a lot of challenges and also affected investment that we had. We also had to new investments were not ongoing as we expected it to be because people were not very confident in the market. And so that saw a lot of outflows. What we had to do proactively is to introduce the subclass fund as a measure to protect investors who are bringing in new deposits and not to subject them to the mark-to-market. But then the mark-to-market, you always suffer that loss if you have severe needs for funds and you have to withdraw. And so we encourage investors, as I mentioned, that market go through cycles. We are also bound to recover from the current state we find ourselves. And people who do not have use for funds or do not need funds urgently, we encourage them not to withdraw. While the market recovers, they can have full access to their funds under a market recovery. And so new deposit can still go on into the subclass fund, which currently do not have any investments in bonds and are solely invested in money market securities.
Mr. Chairman, she's further asking, why didn't you ring-fence the investments made prior to October 2022 if you anticipated that the market prospects were poor?
Now, the one way to ring-fence that will be to exit your positions and probably take different investments and decisions or take different investments. But then the challenges in the market has also impacted bond prices. So ordinarily, just to put in perspective, if you had a bond of about 100,000 that you wanted to sell at a point to exit, you are going to lose more than 60% of that investment. And we wouldn't want to pass on those losses to our investors. And so what we had to do was to introduce the subclass fund. And as the market recovers, we will see some appreciation in bond prices, and that should also restore value to investors.
Mr. Chairman, Ms. Jessie Renchi Ayebin asked, so what advice will you give us since the market's bond is poor? Should we refrain from the same account and invest into something different?
Well, we will still encourage investors to invest. Currently, inflation is very high, and so taking a decision not to invest is also, you're also going to lose on that bid. And so investing and still earning some interest is still better and a way to hedge against the high inflation. We have introduced a subclass fund for the fund, which is solely invested in money market securities. We do not have any bond exposures in the subclass fund. And so we are not expecting any mark-to-market on the fund. Investors can still come in, deposit, and withdraw their funds. Within 48 hours, they can have access to their funds. So we encourage our investors to take use of the subclass fund to invest and also to hedge against any mark-to-market and uncertainties on the market.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Vincent Asarichum is asking, so when is everything coming back to normal, given the financial downturn and mark-to-market implementation?
On timing, we cannot give a definite time, but then we expect decisions that government is taking to turn the economy around the corner, to borrow the words of the finance minister. And so we expect that to come in. So currently we're seeing inflation had been on a downward trend until recently that we started experiencing some increase. But then we have some support from the IMF, which has currently stabilized the economy. And so we believe that some policies that is being taken by government should restore the economy onto a positive path, and that will also encourage investors. And so we still encourage people to invest. The mark-to-market currently, especially on SIF, has come to stay, and so we will encourage investors to still invest. And even now is a better time to invest, now that prices of the investment are currently low. We encourage people to invest now. When there's an upturn on the market, you will enjoy and reap the benefits of that. And SAFE is currently positioned as a medium to long-term fund. And so we encourage investors who have a long-term view on investment to take opportunity and invest now.
Mr. Chairman, Emmanuel Baden in Trust for Kweku Akwa Baden is asking, what is the current status of Government of Ghana's securities interest receivable reported in the financial statements, and then into brackets, statements of assets and liabilities?
Mr. Chair, the receivables on the GOG securities has been declared on page 21 of the audited financials. That was 26 million at year end. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, the last question on the matter is it better to invest in T-bills then?
Mr. Chair, maybe I'll take this one. So just put in perspective that every investment does have risk, and so does treasury bills. Just that we've had a number of assurances from the finance ministry that the treasury bills will not be touched, i.e. any domestic exchange. So to lean on that, meaning that we wouldn't have those sentiments or those haircuts, if I may put it that way. But just have, for us, what we have to have in mind is that whether you invest in a cash trust or income fund or even treasury bills, everything has a risk component to it. So it's ideal for us to understand what our investment goal is so that you'll be able to match that accordingly with that investment security. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, another person is asking, Ms. Christine Ajo Ansinyevu is asking, please, what is this mark to market? Can you kindly explain a little bit?
So, just in layman terms, mark to market, you hold an asset that you bought at a price, and at a certain time you decide to sell that asset. The market will determine the price of that asset. So assuming I bought a phone at 1 CD and I decide to sell that phone on the market, depending on prices on the market, that will determine the price of that asset, whether I'm going to get higher than the price I bought it or lower. And so the investment that we have, especially in the bonds, last year we saw some challenges on the market leading to interest rates going up. Now, bond prices have an inverse relationship with interest rates. So what that means is when interest rates are going up, you have bond prices dropping. Now, if someone comes to withdraw, what that means, the fund has to make liquidity available by selling those bonds in the market. And because the bonds were challenged at the time or are currently challenged, I'm going to get a lower value. So if I decide to sell a bond of, say, 100,000 to pay someone who wants to withdraw 100,000, what the market is offering is lower than the price at which I bought the bond. So basically, that's what mark to market is. The asset we are holding is being valued at the current market price, which is lower than the price at which we bought them.
Chairman, there are no questions on this matter in the chat, and our officials are responding to all the questions in the chat, please.
Thank you very much. So with the questions duly addressed, I now open the online platform for voting on the motion to adopt the financial statements report for the year ended 2022. Ms. Amwa, kindly tell us the outcome of the vote.
To receive and adopt the audited financial statements for the year ended December 31, 2022. 27 people voted for the motion. No one voted against the motion, and 2 persons abstained from the motion.
Thank you very much. I hereby declare that this motion has been duly carried. The next item on the agenda is to fix the remuneration of the auditors Baker Tilly under and under in respect of the year ending 31st December 2023. In line with best practice and as mentioned at last year's annual general meeting, I hereby take this opportunity to move that the manager be and is hereby authorized to fix the remuneration of the auditor for the year ending December 31st, 2023. Would someone please second the motion?
Mr. Chairman, Ni Ashrifi Nunu and Ms. Wendy Sewa Anonunu have seconded the motion.
Thank you very much. With the motion seconded, are there any questions before the motion is put to a vote?
Mr. Chairman, there are no questions on this matter in the chat box. However, all other questions are being answered by the officials in the chat box.
Much. I now open the online platform for voting on the motion to fix the remuneration of the auditors for the year ended or the year ending 2023. Voting is closed. Thank you very much. Ms. Amwa, kindly tell us the outcome of the vote.
To authorize the manager to fix the remuneration of the auditors, 27 people voted for the motion, 3 people voted against the motion, and 3 people abstained from the motion.
Thank you very much. Based on the results, I declare that the motion has been duly carried. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Sims, the manager of the Stanbic Income Fund Trust, I'd like to thank you for your continued interest in the fund's affairs and for attending this meeting. I hereby declare the meeting formally closed. Thank you and do have a good rest of the day.
I have seen it all. Disloyal men, disloyal companies, disloyal institutions, you can name it. But I have found a loyal partner now. Stanbic Investment Management Services. I trust him so much, and I am investing 10 years of my Tier 3 contributions with Sims. Losing money is painful. Invest wisely. Invest with Stanbic Investment Management Services today.
Try Sims today with your Tier 3 funds and you will not regret your decision. Stanbic Investment Management Services. Call Sims on 18080 MTN toll-free, 0800 10009 Vodafone toll-free, or 0302 815 789. Stanbic Investment Management Services, your investment specialist.
Chairman, in fact, I actually came to find out about my investment. Yes, my investment. Your investment. Your investment. Yeah, my investment. Sir, considering the micro-inflationary dynamics of the systematic advanced calculated forms, your investment is perpetual towards ratification. Meaning? In simple terms, Sikanashi. Misikanashi. Don't shout. Swallow it. You care for some coffee?
Make the right choice. Invest with Sims Stanbic Investment Management Services for capital preservation and competitive returns. Try Sims today and you will not regret your decision. Stanbic Investment Management Services, your investment specialist. Smart, innovative, and meaningful solutions. Sims, Stanbic Investment Management Services, your investment specialist.
I found a new job and it's doing very well. And all I'm doing is saving to build a house.
You don't save to build a house. You invest to build a house. That is why I want to take you to my financial advisors. They are thorough.
From markets and currencies to people and politics, everything today affects investment outcomes. If you cannot make the connection, you cannot make the money. We are one of Africa's and Ghana's largest fund managers. Stanbic Investment Management Services provides world-class money management services to individuals, institutional pensions, and group funds. Sign up today for the Stanbic Cash Trust or the Stanbic Income Fund and experience diversified and flexible investment solutions. Managed by your investment specialists. Stanbic Investment Management